His breath was warm on my neck that night, his hand resting gently on my hip as if it belonged there forever. The bedroom smelled of lavender and safety, two things I no longer deserved. I remember staring at the ceiling while his fingers traced lazy patterns down my back, whispering words of love that used to melt me. But I was somewhere else in my mind, tangled in the memory of another man's voice, the echo of another touch I swore I would never crave again. That night, I realized that lies do not always come from words, sometimes, they come from the silence between heartbeats. And mine was screaming the truth I kept buried. Before I continue, I want to take a moment to thank every single one of you who is subscribed to this channel. Your love, your comments, and your support mean everything. To all my new and returning viewers who are yet to subscribe, I cannot wait for you to hit that subscribe button. It is the fuel and energy that keeps stories like this alive. Make sure to share your thoughts and feelings in the comments right after this short intro. I truly love reading your perspectives. Now, let me take you back to where it all began. My name is Emily Parker, and for years, I thought I had everything a woman could want. A stable home in the suburbs of North Carolina, a loving husband named Michael, and a life that looked perfect to everyone who saw it from the outside. Our neighbors admired us, the couple who always waved from their perfectly trimmed lawn, the ones who hosted quiet Sunday dinners and never raised their voices in public. But what no one saw was how quiet our house had become when the guests left. How the laughter that once filled our kitchen had turned into routine conversations about bills, grocery lists, and who would pick up the dry cleaning. Somewhere between work, responsibilities, and time, we had turned into polite strangers wearing the faces of two people who used to be in love. Michael was a good man. He worked as an architect, structured, precise, always calm. He loved order. He loved predictability. And for a while, I thought I did too. But the truth is, I began to feel invisible in the life we built together. Not because he stopped loving me, but because he loved me in ways that no longer reached me. I would watch him from across the dinner table, his eyes glued to his tablet, checking blueprints late into the evening. I would clear my throat, trying to find something to say, but words felt heavy, meaningless even. It was not that we were broken. We were just empty. And emptiness is dangerous. I started to fill it in small ways. Spending longer hours at work, joining yoga classes I did not enjoy, scrolling endlessly on my phone late into the night. That was how it happened, one small, unimportant message that changed everything. It was from Derek Monroe, an old friend from college. The message was harmless at first. "Hey, Emily, I saw your comment on an old photo from our graduation. How have you been?" I smiled at the screen, not realizing that I was opening a door I would not know how to close later. Derek was always the charming one, confident, adventurous, the kind of man who laughed with his whole body. Back in college, he was the boy everyone noticed. I had been one of his closest friends, nothing more, though I had always felt something unspoken between us. We started talking casually. At first, it was innocent. He would ask about my job, my life, how marriage was treating me. I answered honestly but carefully. I told him Michael was doing well, that life was good, even though some days, I felt like I was fading inside my own skin. Derek always knew how to listen, how to make me feel like my words mattered. Within days, those casual chats turned into late-night conversations. I would lie beside my sleeping husband, the glow of my phone lighting up the dark room, as Derek and I talked about everything we could not say out loud during the day. He made me laugh in ways I had not laughed in years. He made me feel seen. It felt like a harmless escape, a secret place I could visit when real life became too quiet. But secrets have a way of growing roots. I started noticing little changes in myself. I began to wear perfume to bed again. I took more time doing my hair in the morning, even when I had nowhere to go. Michael would notice and smile, thinking I was doing it for him. And that smile made the guilt burn deeper. One evening, Michael came home earlier than usual. I was in the kitchen, my phone propped against the counter, Derek's message glowing across the screen. "I miss how you used to smile at me." I froze. The words hit me like a whisper from another life. Before I could lock my phone, Michael's arms wrapped around my waist. "Something smells good," he said softly. I nodded, forcing a smile, praying he would not notice my trembling hands. When he left to shower, I stared at my reflection in the dark kitchen window. The woman staring back at me looked the same, but I knew something inside her had shifted. I told myself it was harmless, that I was just talking to a friend. But deep down, I knew the truth. I was feeding a hunger that would not stop until it destroyed something sacred. The days that followed became a blur of secrets. I would delete messages, clear call logs, and smile through dinners like nothing was wrong. Michael started talking about planning a weekend trip together, his way of reconnecting. I agreed, pretending to be excited, but my mind kept wandering to Derek. One night, as I lay beside my husband, Derek's name flashed across my screen again. The message was short but powerful: "I wish you were here instead." I turned my phone face down, heart pounding so loudly I could hear it. Michael stirred beside me, half asleep, his hand brushing against mine. "I love you," he mumbled. And for the first time I could not say it back. I turned to face the wall, tears sliding silently down my cheek. My phone buzzed again. I ignored it, but the truth was already unfolding, like a slow, inevitable storm creeping closer with every heartbeat. That night, I realized that what I had been calling loneliness was actually something far more dangerous: discontent disguised as desire. And I was letting it consume me. The mask I wore at home was starting to crack. There is a kind of silence that follows guilt, a silence that hums louder than sound itself. That was the silence that filled my mornings. I would make coffee, pack Michael's lunch, kiss him goodbye, and stand by the window as he drove off to work, feeling the kind of emptiness that even love could not fix anymore. Days passed like that. Pretending. Smiling. Lying. Derek and I had been talking almost every day now. The more we spoke, the more lines I erased between right and wrong. His voice became my favorite sound, one that slipped into the cracks of my loneliness and made me forget the life I was betraying. One afternoon, while I sat at my desk during lunch break, Derek called. His voice was deep, calm, almost too gentle. "Emily, I am in town for a few days," he said. "Maybe we could catch up. Just coffee. Nothing more." I hesitated, knowing that nothing about this was innocent anymore. But before I could remind myself of that, I heard myself agreeing. "Just coffee," I repeated softly. That Saturday, I told Michael I was meeting an old friend from work. He smiled and told me to have fun. The trust in his eyes made my chest ache. I almost canceled, almost told him the truth. But the other side of me, the selfish one, wanted to feel alive again, even if it meant losing everything later. The coffee shop was a quiet place near the city center. When I saw Derek walk in, I almost forgot to breathe. He looked different, older, sharper, more confident. The boy I once knew had become a man, and he carried that energy effortlessly. When his eyes met mine, I felt that dangerous rush, the one that starts in the chest and spreads like heat under the skin. We talked for hours. About work, about the past, about everything and nothing. He listened like I was the only voice in the room. When he laughed, I laughed with him. And for the first time in a long time, I felt something spark inside me, something that should have stayed buried. As we stepped outside, the sky was turning gold. He walked me to my car, his hand brushing mine as he reached for the door. That one touch, light, accidental, innocent, sent every buried feeling rushing back. I wanted to pull away, but I did not. He looked at me for a long moment, eyes searching mine. "You are still beautiful, Emily," he said quietly. I laughed softly, trying to brush it off, but my voice shook. "You should not say things like that," I whispered. "Then why are you smiling?" he asked. I did not answer. Because I knew what he meant. And I knew that smile was not the smile of a married woman. When I got home that evening, Michael was cooking dinner. He looked up, his face warm with the kind of love that used to make me feel safe. "You are home early," he said. I nodded, hugging him from behind, my arms trembling. He thought it was affection, but it was guilt clawing through me. That night, I dreamt of Derek. I woke up before dawn, my body heavy with shame. I told myself I would end it, that I would stop replying, stop feeding this illusion. But addiction does not end with promises. 2 weeks later, Derek asked me to meet again. This time, it was different. He was staying in a hotel just outside town. I told myself I would only stop by for a few minutes, just to say goodbye, to end it once and for all. When I arrived, he was standing by the window, sunlight spilling across his face. The air felt charged, like something unspoken was waiting to happen. "Are you sure about this?" he asked, his voice low, careful. I wanted to say yes. That I was sure about ending it. But instead, I said nothing. I just stood there, watching him take a slow step toward me. What happened next was not planned. It was not even logical. It was a collision of loneliness, longing, and the kind of temptation I had spent years denying. The moment his hand touched my face, every wall I built inside me fell apart. There were no words. Just breath, heat, and the sound of everything I believed about myself breaking. When it was over, I sat at the edge of the bed, the room spinning around me. I could still taste the moment on my skin, a mix of thrill and regret so sharp it almost made me sick. Derek reached for my hand, but I pulled away. "I should go," I whispered. He nodded, and for a brief second, I saw something in his eyes, not satisfaction, but sadness. Maybe he knew, just like I did, that we had crossed a line that could never be uncrossed. I drove home in silence. Every traffic light, every turn, felt like a countdown to the lie I would have to tell. When I walked into the house, Michael was already asleep on the couch, the TV humming softly. He looked peaceful, trusting, untouched by the chaos that was devouring me. I stood there, staring at him, and the guilt hit me like a tidal wave. I wanted to shake him awake and confess everything. I wanted to beg him to see me, the broken, flawed woman standing before him. But instead, I just covered him with a blanket and went upstairs to our bed. I lay there staring at the ceiling, my heart racing as if it knew that I had changed something permanent inside myself. Around midnight, Michael came to bed. He slid his arm around me, kissing my shoulder. "I missed you today," he murmured softly. I closed my eyes, holding back tears. My heart screamed for forgiveness, but my lips stayed still. I could feel his heartbeat against my back, steady, loyal, and pure. I did not deserve it. And yet, I pretended. Because pretending was easier than facing the truth. In the dark, I whispered to myself, "No one will ever know." But deep down, I already knew secrets like mine never stay buried. The night I crossed the line was the night I stopped being the woman my husband thought he married. And even though he did not know it yet, the cracks in our perfect life had already begun to show. The morning it all came crashing down did not begin with a storm. It started with sunlight, the kind that slips through the curtains gently, unaware of the chaos it is about to reveal. Michael was in the kitchen, making coffee like he always did. I could hear the sound of the spoon clinking against the mug, the soft hum of the radio, his voice humming along to a song that once played at our wedding. It should have been an ordinary morning. But that day, ordinary was about to die. For weeks, I had been living in the fragile balance between two worlds, the one where I was a devoted wife and the other where I was drowning in the memory of a man I never should have touched. I thought I could manage the lies, thought I could control the damage. But lies have a strange way of finding air. That morning, as I stepped out of the shower, I heard the sharp buzz of my phone from the dresser. I reached for it, but Michael was faster. He smiled as he picked it up. "Your phone has been going crazy lately," he said casually, scrolling to see who was calling. And then I saw it. Derek's name. Time stopped. The air shifted. My heart began to pound so hard I could hear it echoing inside my head. Michael's expression changed, confusion first, then disbelief. He looked at me, his brows knitting together. "Who is Derek?" he asked quietly. I froze. My lips parted, but no sound came out. The silence between us stretched until it became unbearable. He looked down at the screen again. Another message came through right in front of him. I miss you already. Last night keeps replaying in my mind. It felt like the floor vanished beneath my feet. Michael's face turned pale. His jaw tightened. For a moment, he said nothing. He just stared at the message, as if trying to convince himself it was not real. Then, his voice broke the air like a knife. What is this, Emily? I wanted to explain. I wanted to tell him it was not what it looked like, but even as the thought formed, I knew there was no version of the truth that could save me. My lies had run out. I opened my mouth, trembling. Michael. Do not lie, he cut in sharply, his tone trembling with both anger and pain. Do not tell me what I think you are about to tell me. Tears blurred my vision. I am sorry, I whispered. It was a mistake. I never meant for it to happen. He stared at me, his eyes burning with disbelief. A mistake? His voice cracked. A mistake is forgetting to pay a bill, Emily. A mistake is leaving the stove on. You slept with another man and you are calling it a mistake? I could not breathe. Every word he spoke felt like a blade twisting deeper into me. I wanted to tell you, I whispered weakly. I wanted to stop it. He shook his head, his hands trembling as he set the phone on the counter. When, Emily? When were you planning to tell me? After how many lies? After how many nights you lay next to me pretending nothing was wrong? My tears came faster, blurring everything. Please, Michael. He stepped back, as if my touch was poison. Do not, he said, his voice shaking. Do not touch me. The pain in his eyes was unbearable. I had seen him sad before, frustrated, even angry, but this was different. This was devastation. He walked past me, heading to the living room. I followed him, desperate, begging him to listen, to understand something that even I could not justify. It did not mean anything, I said between sobs. I was lonely, I was lost. He turned, his face full of disbelief. Lonely? You had me, Emily. You had everything. You just did not see it because you were too busy chasing something that never existed. His words hit harder than any scream could have. The room spun. I fell to my knees, my tears staining the hardwood floor. Please, do not leave me, I whispered. Please. But he had already left, not physically, not yet, but emotionally. I could see it in his eyes. The trust, the love, the safety, gone. Michael walked upstairs without another word. When he came back down, he was holding a small duffel bag. He tossed it near me. You can stay with your friend, he said coldly. Or with him. I do not care where you go. But you cannot stay here. The finality in his voice broke something inside me that no apology could mend. Michael, please, let us talk. There is nothing to talk about, he said. You made your choice. And now you can live with it. He walked out the door, slamming it behind him, the sound echoing through the house like a verdict. For a long time I just sat there, numb, staring at the empty doorway. The silence that followed was worse than his anger. It was the silence of something sacred dying. Later that night, I packed a few things and left. I drove aimlessly, not knowing where to go. Eventually, I checked into a small motel on the edge of town. The room smelled of old smoke and cheap soap. I sat on the bed, staring at my phone, reading Derek's last message again and again. I miss you already. I felt nothing but disgust. I deleted his number. I deleted every message, every photo, every trace of the person I had become. But the guilt stayed. It clung to me like a second skin, whispering reminders of everything I had lost. Days turned into weeks. I reached out to Michael once, just to ask if he was okay. He never replied. I could not blame him. One evening, I drove past our old house. The lights were off, the curtains closed. My heart ached as I sat there, realizing that the life I had destroyed was still standing, only I was no longer part of it. Sometimes, love does not die because of absence or time. Sometimes, it dies because of betrayal, the kind that no apology can fix. I used to believe that love could survive anything. But that was before I learned that trust, once broken, never returns the same. I swore I was faithful. I swore I was loyal. But in the end, my secrets spoke louder than my promises. And now, all I have left are memories of a home I can never go back to, and the echo of a man's voice who once whispered I love you to a woman who no longer deserved to hear it.